I don't know about you guys, but sometimes it just feels like life just pushes me to a point where I don't know if I could take it anymore, but you just keep going, keep pushing along. So this is kind of all the stuff that comes to my mind when I think about something like that. There's something about being pushed to your limits, like little periods of time versus a continual like stint of time that's very different. I feel like the best comparison is like running like a sprint versus running a marathon. A lot of people can sprint, but a lot of people can't run a marathon. I like to sprint, but I cannot run a marathon. I get tired, I get all this stuff. And it feels like life does that in terms of the difficulty and like your pain tolerance a lot of times, and sees, hey, do you have that heart, do you have that will to keep going, and how much can you handle before you blow up? I don't know how else to say that, but it feels at times like a burden. It feels like something that like you just wish was done, that was like over and done with, and you can get back to like normal life and all this stuff. But the whole process is just so valuable that even if it's really tough, there's just something about it that just is like a really good thing to go through. I've had plenty of experiences. I mean, like right now where each day that I'm going through feels like its own like month or something like that. People talk about, oh, like the mornings and afternoons, stuff like that, but sometimes it feels like I'm in this continual state where I'm like, am I still in this year? Am I still this? Am I still this age? When people say like, oh, you turn a certain age, you're like, oh, dang, I can't believe I'm this or whatever, like that. That doesn't kind of feel like a thing because it feels like the past year has been like a decade. I don't know if it's completely based off just going through the grind and seeing how much you can take, but it definitely plays a part in it because when you're being pushed, when you feel like you're up against a wall, it kind of slows down time. It's like the whole idea of holding a plank. Like if you want to slow down time, hold a plank and you will slow down time as much as you can. That's what it feels like getting pushed to your limits does, because when you're so in the moment, so dealing with stuff, time just kind of like goes like at a snail's pace because there's stuff that you got to go through, you gotta learn, and stuff that you gotta do. Because like when you go through any kind of pain, any kind of difficulty, any kind of that stuff, it's almost a sign that, hey, like there's something you gotta learn, there's something you gotta do right now, and there's like no ifs or ands or buts about it. Like it has to happen. So when there's like periods of time that are like years long of that, it can add up and feel like a lot. The loss that happened in my life happened like 4 or 5 years ago, but it feels like a different life by now because of how long the whatever of time has been, because of the being pushed to your limits thing. Oh, can you believe it's been like 4 years, or can you believe this, or and it's like it feels like more, like it feels like a lot more. And that's what's tricky about going through that. I mean, push your limits is that I don't know if this is the same for everyone, but it's not just that it's tougher, it's that it makes life feel like more of a grind. Like there's a grind of like working a bunch of hours or doing a whole bunch of exercise or doing a whole bunch of schoolwork or doing whatever, but when that itself feels longer, it kind of like makes the process feel a lot tougher. Like how a marathon wears on your body and you feel like you can't take it, you feel like you're whatever, versus just doing a sprint. That's what life does by making these things feel a lot longer, which is why a lot of times it's so easy to go to like nerves or stress, anxiety, all stuff, because when you go through something that feels longer, that's harder and stuff like that, that's just the instinct a lot of times, versus having that peace and having that trust to where, hey, it will be fine. I honestly need to go through this. It may not be whatever, but I wouldn't want it to be, because I want to grow, I want to change, I want to get better, I want to go through stuff, even if it's tough. Another aspect of this whole thing of the being pushed to your limits, going through this stuff, and I don't know if this could just be for me, whatever, but is it made it harder for me to connect with people around me. And I don't just mean this in the sense of like friends or family, but I just mean generally like conversations going through this stuff. It doesn't even feel like I've really been living the past few years being through this. It's not like, oh, I'm some tough guy or whatever, stuff like that. It just, when it slows down, when you're in this mindset just trying to get to a place where you feel good, where you're feeling stuff while you're going through this stuff, it's tough to feel like you're still living that life, that's still normal life, because the mind and everything is just in such a different place. And so your body kind of feels in like limbo versus being in it. And so it felt tough for me to like have that same connection and feel the same sort of feelings that I had before, because I'm not connecting quite like I did back when, because I'm not in the same space. It kind of feels like I'm some ghost, like going along, like sure, I see everyone, I'm like around the same things, I'm living, breathing, doing all this stuff, but there's not anything tangible to me while I'm going through this, because I just gotta learn, gotta go through this stuff that just takes it all out of you, so you don't really have much left to focus on much else. And that makes like having anxiety, having all this stuff so much of a problem, because if you have that stuff along with that, it can lead to some dangerous stuff, because when you're not feeling connection and you have anxiety and all that stuff, and like you talk to people and you try to connect and try to do all this stuff, but it's not working, then you can feel like you can start to lose hope and spiral. And there's been a lot of times where I've spiraled, a lot of times where I've had like little panic attacks, or I've had this or had that, and it could be from like the littlest things, but it usually comes back to the fact of being scared that I'm gonna be stuck in this spot, that I'm not gonna be able to get out of it. And it's a very scary spot, and anyone out there who feels stuck, suck. Trust me, it won't last. There's always a meaning to it, always a reason to it. And there's going to be brighter days ahead. But I 100% understand feeling like hope is lost and that there's no point, because I've had it like thousands of times. Because when you go through days and you don't feel anything, or it's tough, and you're going through these like days that feel like weeks or whatever and stuff like that, one after the other, and you don't feel like you're connecting and don't feel all that stuff, it's super easy to get into this mindset. That's why I think one of the biggest things that helped me is just taking it day by day, taking it, whatever. I don't know, it's cliche to say live in the moment, but living in the moment I think is the best possible thing when it comes to going through times that are really tough, because first and foremost, it helps you take the day as each, instead of feeling like, oh, overwhelmed by everything. You just take each by little portion so that you can handle it. And then upon that, it allows you to see the process as it goes through. Like, it allows you to see bits and pieces of why this is happening, or oh this, or oh that, versus just feeling like there's no purpose to it, or feeling like there's no reason and getting overwhelmed in that. It allows you to kind of be like, okay, I really don't like this, but I see why it's happening, and I need to go through this even though I don't like it. So I'm going to go through this. I'm going to be present. I'm going to be in this even though I don't want to, because I know that there's a reason to that. And that really helps. Even though the process to get to that point is really tough, it is so much helpful, especially when the journey is so long. It's so beneficial to just get into that space as quick as possible, because then you're able to see the value of it while you're going through it. Because as I say, no pain, no gain. It takes going through the unpredictable, it takes going through the unknown, it takes going through the painful stuff in order to gain and do more than you ever could have imagined. It's just part of the process. And those days that feel like weeks, those times are tough, those situations that you wish you could be out of so bad, are what you need in order to get to that next spot. So don't lose sight of the value of it, and just be still and be present in it, as tough as it can be, because there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. Hopefully this helped any of you guys watching. You can check out any of these videos, and have a nice day.